Welcome back, wanderers, and today we are on another adventure. This time we are at
Angel's Envy,
and we're in downtown
Louisville.
Or for Kentuckians, Louisville.
That's what I said.
Right, Louisville. So, where the sluggers are made. Also, where Angel Envy is made. So, we are going to go in. We're going to do a tasting tour. This is not a normal tour. This is a tasting tour.
This is their Roundtable tasting.
So, Roundtable, Knights of the Roundtable tastings? All right, so that's what we're doing today.
Yeah.
Keep wandering, keep following, and
if you're new to our channel,
oh, right, we are Wander with us, and I am Brian, and this is
Samantha. We're trying to get used to doing this.
Yeah, it's all new. But keep wandering, keep following, and
let the adventure begin.
There you go. All right. We got to press 2 in the elevator. And she shakes her head in disappointment. Entrez-vous.
He wants to talk. Are you familiar with the founders, how you're working about our co-founders? We are co-founded by one of the legends in the bourbon industry here in Kentucky. That gentleman's name is Lincoln Henderson. He was in Louisville with a biology and chemistry degree, and he started working for one of the top 5 spirit conglomerates in the world that actually operates out of Louisville, and that company's name is Bourbon. He worked for them for 40 years, and during his tenure there, he got those iconic brands. Old Mountain Distillery during the development of General Jack Daniel's single barrel, the series, and his real baby there was Water Reservoir. And he traveled the world internationally. He observed a lot of different things happening in spirits worldwide. And one of the things he remarked about is for about 150 years in Scotland, they were taking Scotch and processing a secondary maturation or barley in either cognac or sherry barrels, and he thought this would be so complementary to the mash bill of bourbon. Well, when he came back to Louisville, the single barrel traditionalists at the time didn't want to hear anything about the secondary finishing. It was a traditional single barrel program for distillation, and that's kind of where that remained. So he had this idea, or pretty much that thought or idea, and a couple others he kind of kept on his little notes and stuff, but ended up retiring from that. Again, he almost worked there for 40 years, and in 2001, he was one of the first inaugural members of the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame, and in 2003, Malt Advocacy magazine bestowed on him a Lifetime Achievement Award. And he went on to retire in 2004. But he was a malcontent retiree, very restless. And his son, Wes, approached him a year into retirement about starting a family brand. He was very motivated himself about starting his own stone company with his dad because he has 6 sons, and he thought what a great business for them to be employed under that brand umbrella. And his eldest son, Kyle, Lincoln's grandson, had actually worked at Water Reservoir with his grandfather. He is our production manager and master distiller and taster here. His brother, Andrew, is one of our lead processing operators, and that basically takes you from grain to clear spirits, basically moonshine that goes into barrel. The 2 middle sons, they work in our brick houses or our aging warehouses out in Henry County, and the 2 youngest sons aren't of age because we've got to be 20 years in a day to be able to sell bourbon in Kentucky. So for Lincoln, starting this 3-generational family brand was a huge deal, given that he worked for somebody else for of years. And another major bucket list item for him was the starting of this facility, of this distilling business here in this particular space. This was the first distillery to break ground post-prohibition here on famous Whiskey Road in Louisville. So that just brought him a lot of pride. He felt very blessed. To highlight family and founder, big temple to our brand, also all that history of his distilling legendary years that we had in the business. But secondly, that finishing story. Every single spirit that we distill here in Angel City has a secondary maturation or barreling. The bourbon that you're going to try here today is a 4 to 6-year-old bourbon, and its secondary barreling or finishing is in port wine barrels from Portugal. So our bourbon goes into those port wine barrels for 4 to 6 years. Our rye whiskey that you're going to try today is a 6 to 8-year-old rye, and its secondary finishing is in Caribbean rum casks from Plantation Rum in Barbados. So I'm really excited for you to get into the tasting, and we're going to start with actually a 3-step tasting, similar to how they do on the judging panel when they get bourbon. And we're going to start with the pour that's on your left. That is our Kentucky straight bourbon, the one that's aged for 4 to 6 years in those newly carried oak barrels and aged for 4 to 6 months in these port wine cask. He's the gentleman that works in the Dorado Valley. His name is Armando. He's employed by us to procure our barrels, our port barrels for us. So here, I want you to, we're going to kind of observe and look at the spirit like they want the tasting panel. And they're going to start by picking up the glass and looking at the clarity of the spirit. They want to make sure it's not cloudy or opaque. And they'll make some color notes as well. I have guests that say icy bourbon tea, but they'll make a lot more elaborate descripts like amber or topaz. But most importantly, it's that clarity of color. And then I'm going to ask you all to kind of tilt the glass or give it a good little swirl, or a 360 tilt. And when you hold the glass upright, what we're observing is that little ridge is great that forms around the perimeter of the glass. That is the spirit shelf. And then those little droplets that start to form and descend along the side of the glass, those are the spirit or bourbon legs. The more full body of the spirit you're partaking in, typically those legs are slower to descend, to form and descend. This is an 86.6 proof bourbon. And then when we get to the nosing, I'm going to ask you all to nose the bourbon with your mouth open. It is a lot more pleasant than nosing with your mouth closed. When you nose a spirit with your mouth closed, you're just getting a big big vapor reaction. But with your mouth open, you can kind of distinguish a lot of the different aromatics. I suggest doing this with all different spirits. Tequila, it really is a lot more pleasant with your mouth open. What are you all getting off of the nose? Vanilla, strong vanilla. Like a butterscotchy even. Some mornings I come in here and it's very subjective as to what you've eaten and drank during the day. There's a 10 o'clock tastings on some days, not on Sundays. You know, we've got our drinking laws here on Sundays, so we can't go after 1 p.m. But some mornings I come in here and if I drink a lot of coffee in the morning, I'm very caffeinated, I get a lot of pepper off the nose. It really is subjective to what you've eaten and drank during the day, but there's definitely a sweet nose to this bourbon. Caramel, butterscotch, vanilla, kind of brown sugar or burnt sugar. And I'm going to ask you all to kind of entertain me with our first sip. And on the panel, their first acclimation sip is one where they take a little sip and they kind of rinse their mouth like a rinse or mouthwash for about 5 seconds. If you all do that, it really makes for the second acclimation step and your third judging step to be that much more pleasant, but also identifiable in regards to the spirit, what they're picking off of the palate. So do all that heat and that sensation in your mouth and that little acclimation. We call that Kentucky chew here, and this little warm sensation in our chest, we call it Kentucky buzz. I tell my guests, I'll take all the ones I can get here before COVID. This is a big warm one. But this fries your palate, so you'll be able to discern that sweet on the front, the spicy towards the middle and back, and kind of that bitter aftertaste, kind of at the end. So I'm going to toast you all to a happy and healthy year to all of you for your second acclimation sip. At this point, you'll really be able to appreciate as the spirit traverses your palate. Cheers, cheers, cheers back there. When you finish it, at some point, I'm going to ask you all to add either the iced tea that's coming up next, because they also judge with an eyedropper, and they'll add 2 to 3 drops of water, because they're very curious to see how the alcohol holds up to the water molecules. So, where were we? Okay, so you all taste more of the sweeter, that kind of caramely, butterscotchy towards the front. Have some of those baking spices towards the middle, like a cinnamony clove, and towards the back you get the bittersweet, the oak, and the smoke, the char. Well, they don't start judging their bourbon until the third sip. And on this third sip, and then we're going to add the ice cube right after that. But on the third sip, they feel like they're fully acclimated, and they judge from the sweets to the bitter. So on 40 different elements on that scale, they can judge and rank them 1 to 10. So exponentially, you really can rank a bourbon 400 different ways. It's definitely a profession. Do you find it a lot smoother once you get to that third sip? Yes. It helps to do the acclimation sip. Well, then what we're going to do is we're going to add the ice cube. And either you can add the ice cube or a little bit of water that's melted in the glass in front of you. I can't go around with an eyedropper to add 2 to 3 drops, but that's what they'll do on the tasting panel. I used to, before COVID, I would be able to go around with a tray and hand you each of your own glass with the ice cube. Y'all, so that, and I have just asked if it was the same bourbon, because with the addition of the water or ice cube, you are gauging down the proof of the bourbon. All of those things that we looked at have changed. The color changes, the legs become a lot shorter. The nose is very different as well with the addition of the water or ice cube, and the taste is different. Where I had guests ask me if it was the same bourbon. I'm getting started with 86.6 proof. By adding the ice cube, and the longer it sits in there, you're gauging down that proof more and more. I use it as an analogy of like holding helium balloons, where those alcohol molecules want to gravitate and stay together as those bunch of balloons would do so. By adding the water, it's like they're releasing those balloons into the atmosphere. You're ready. We're going to cleanse our palate. There's a little container of water, a box of water, and we're going to get to the rye whiskey. So the actual, the bourbon is a beer product with 72% corn and 18% rye and 10% malted barley. Our rye whiskey is 95 rye and 5% malted barley. a very spicy mash bill with a 95% rye. Now, it's 100 proof, and it ages for 6 to 8 years in those new charred white barrels. But it has a secondary aging, again, finishing, maturation in these little Caribbean casks. These are from plantation rum, it's a dark rum. So there's a lot of those sugar still in those states from that dark rum, and it really does complement the spice of that rye. It's a very atypical rye in the marketplace. This aging time in dark rum barrels from Barbados really cuts the spice. It's a very complementary pairing of those two barrels. So I'm curious if you all try it. We're acclimated at this time, so we're not going to do the whole acclimation, but things are definitely different. It's darker. The proof is higher at 100 proof. The legs are going to be longer with that higher proof. And the nose is, I think, almost sweeter than the bourbon. Is it? Yes. Or almost like maybe syrupy. It's definitely that time in those rum casks that complement our mash bill. I'm going to talk a little bit about what makes it so our distillery here in Kentucky very unique, and particularly here, like 95% of the world's bourbon is distilled here in Kentucky, and 30% of that here in Louisville. Our corn we use in our mash bill for our bourbon comes from a farm here called Douglas Langley Farm here in Kentucky. Our rye and malted barley come from the Midwest. We have a cooperage here called Sheldon's. They've been in the business for 75 years, and they make all of our barrels. So we take the new white oak, make our barrels here, and something that Lincoln needs to do with liquor is he would toast the barrels to prime the wood grains. That's something he was one of the first to do that in our industry. We do that indirect toasting, then we would number 3 tar. And number 3 tar is a 35-second direct flame. And number 1 tar is 15-second direct flame. And number 2 is 30. And number 3 is 35. And that number 4 elevator tar is a 55-second direct flame. That's all part of the recipe. Grain, water. The water here in Kentucky. We sit on a limestone aquifer that has very calcium-rich water. That's a big contributor to the sweetness of our spirits and the smoothness. It's called Cincinnati Art, and Scotland and Ireland also sit on a limestone aquifer as well. Then, I got too much time, sorry. And then our weather. Kentucky has very cold, dry winter days and very hot, humid summers. That creates a lot of barrel activity, a lot of expansion, contraction of those barrels. 100% of that bourbon's color comes from that time in barrel, and 60% of its taste. So there's a lot of activity happening in those brick houses. We blend our bourbons here. We have a 4 to 6-year-old bourbon. So we may blend a younger barrel that has a long activity that takes 40 years from a top line to one that is older with less activity on one of the lower runs. So we blend and don't rotate our barrels. There's very few distilleries that are still open. Yes.
Still smells like feet.
So, real quickly,
All right, welcome back, Wanderers, and I hope you enjoyed this. This was Angel's Envy.
Yep. So we tasted two bourbons.
2 bourbons. Well, no. 1 bourbon, 1 rye whiskey.
Yes.
Not a bourbon, rye
correct.
whiskey.
I apologize.
So
their bourbon is finished in a port wine barrel.
yes, indeed.
And their rye whiskey is finished in a dark Caribbean rum barrel.
Yum barrel. It's a big Caribbean yum barrel.
And then they were paired with 2 different chocolates.
Yes.
Which were quite yummy by themselves.
Quite yummy. So guess what? we got ourselves a gift. We got some chocolates and some syrups to make old fashions.
So we did. We purchased their port wine syrup to make some old fashions.
I can't wait. We're gonna go make some old fashions. So anyways, Angel's Envy, very good. I hope you enjoyed it. This was very informative and a lot of talking.
Yeah.
But, you know, hopefully you enjoyed it. So we're trying to do a little bit of different, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and
yeah, we're waiting for the weather to clear up and
definitely waiting to go for a hike. So this is still a wander for us because this is still a little bit from our house. So we hope you enjoyed wandering with us. This has been Brian and
Samantha.
We are Wander With Us, and thanks for wandering with us.
Now it's just repeated.
Yes, exactly. So don't forget to subscribe, like the page, keep following, keep wandering, and
Let the adventure begin.
we'll talk to you soon.